A magic dagger leads to a serial killer unintentionally switching bodies with a teenage girl. Sound cool? Because I'm going to talk about Freaky from 2020. Here I am with another pandemic film. I feel like I've reviewed a few lately, and I still cringe when I see the box office earnings, especially compared to the budget for some of these. This one, though, came out in November of 2020, like I said, and it actually made $18 million on a $5 million budget, so I guess not so bad. I'm kind of baffled, but maybe, those sales are from a different date or a different time. I'm not really sure. I really can't imagine theaters being open during the worst part of the pandemic, but I'm just not going to go there. Anyways, Freaky was directed by Christopher Landon, known for the Happy Death Day films, among other things that he's done. It stars Vince Vaughn, who needs no introduction at this point, and Catherine Newton, who I wasn't previously familiar with. I looked her up, and apparently she has been acting since she was 4 years old, and she's now 26. That kind of blew my mind. I mean, I thought she was great as one of the leads here. This movie is pretty easy to break down, and I'm more than okay with that. It's basically Freaky Friday meets Friday the 13th, with some of its own ideas sprinkled in, of course. And it's a lot of fun. Catherine Newton plays Millie, your typical awkward and sort of weird teenager who gets bullied at her high school. Vince Vaughn plays a serial killer known as the Blissfield Butcher. When he's out murdering, he wears like a creepy mask, giving the movie some very, very fun 80s slasher vibes. I mean, as a slasher fan myself, this was definitely the part of the film that really drew me in. You get all of the tropes, from right from the start to, the teenagers partying and having sex, and of course being butchered in very gory and creative ways. The body count here is not like super high or anything, but they make every kill count, and I appreciated the hell out of it for that, and I think you will too. So, as Vince Vaughn kind of murders his way through the teen party at some rich asshole's mansion, he leaves with an ancient dagger known as La Dola. It doesn't, or at least I don't remember it really specifying whether he was there to steal the dagger or if he just kind of stumbles upon it randomly and thought it looks cool. But La Dola has magical powers. The next day after a high school football game, as Millie's alone waiting for her ride home, she's attacked by the butcher. He stabs her in the shoulder with La Dola, and an identical wound appears on his shoulder as Millie's older sister, who is a police officer, shows up in the nick of time to save her. The next morning, Millie wakes up in the butcher's body, who wakes up in Millie's, of course. The cool slasher elements mostly taper off after the beginning scene, and I'll admit that was my favorite part of the entire film, but from here out, you get more of the, Freaky Friday-esque stuff, and it's still a hell of a lot of fun. It's very predictable, but it's just fun, I mean, even if you haven't seen this, you pretty much already know what happens. The butcher is now free to do what he wants while everyone thinks he's Millie, while the real Millie has to try and convince everyone that she isn't a massive, 6-foot-plus Vince Vaughn. And Millie finds out about the powers of La Dola, thank you, internet, and that she has to stab the butcher with it by midnight, or, the body swap becomes permanent. Now, I didn't have a lot of expectations here. In fact, I had none, despite a few people recommending this to me. And overall, it's not really my thing. I'm not big on horror comedies, but this is, again, I've said it so many times already, it's just a lot of fun. I would totally watch this again. The Friday the 13th nods really won me over right from the start. And from there, Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton carried this the rest of the way. I mean, Vince playing a teenage girl had me laughing the entire time, and reminded me that, he's always been a great actor. And Catherine Newton pulls her weight as well as Vince Vaughn's counterpart. She was perfect. I would definitely recommend this to, both fans of 80s slashers and horror comedies. The kills are surprisingly awesome and very much intentional treats for us slasher fans, and the performances by the two leads are also just great. This is a really good pick to watch with friends, I'd say. I watched it with my son, and we both had a blast. He had never seen a movie with Vince Vaughn before, and he totally loved his performance. I've seen a ton of his stuff, and I'm glad to see him taking roles like this. I'm giving Freaky a 6.5 out of 10. Check it out. I doubt you'll regret it. Cheers, guys.